Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 12 of the Pop Punk Podcast with me, T-Will Official, and we actually have a little bit of a change to the lineup today. Ed, my usual G-ass co-host, he did have something semi-serious to take care of. I'm not going to put his business out there, but he did have something semi-serious to take care of. And so today, his spot will be filled with Mr. Unsayingsmile, AKA Keane. Say what's up, Keane.
What's going on, everybody?
Yeah, so Keane is our special guest for the day, but since Ed isn't here, I guess he's also kind of stepping into the co-host shoes. So you guys already know the drill. We start out every episode with this, and since we have Keane on, we'll have a little bit of a different perspective. Keane, what have you been listening to this week?
So weirdly enough, I have been just scrolling through random punk playlists on Spotify.
Okay.
And the last one that I jumped into was Essential Ska.
Okay.
So I've been listening to a little bit of ska lately.
I enjoy ska. Ska's pretty fun.
In the light of, the Tony Hawk remake coming out, I've been listening to a lot of, as you would call, skate park punk, or as I would call early pop punk.
But yes. I smell a discussion coming later.
Yeah, we've had that discussion a few times.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I don't think. I mean, we definitely agree. I mean, the early pop punk, it is still definitely pop punk. Just the way I see it is, I see the early '90s pop punk. You know, like your NoFX, your early Blink, your like Face to Face, like stuff like that. Like to me, like obviously it is pop punk because compared to their peers, it's very poppy. Just that whole like early '90s in general, to me, I see it as like skate punk, just with a little more melody to it. Because I know the other skate punk, they're like rah, 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 rah. They're just kind of like shouting.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I think, so we definitely do see eye to eye with the fact that it's pop punk. I just consider it way different than like the more modern stuff.
Right. Well, and the craziest part about it's the reason I find it weird to call it skate punk is like whenever I was a lot younger and actually in the like skating scene, we all listened to like Blink-182, Goldfinger, all of that. And then as I got older, I noticed that skateboarders were listening to more emo.
I love
punk.
emo.
So that's why the term like skate punk to me, or skate park punk, was a little weird to me, because it's like originally, I could see that, but then it went more emo towards the later years of like skaters nowadays.
Yeah, I don't know. That you know what? I'm actually glad that you brought that up, because that's actually perspective I like didn't know about. Because I mean, I liked skateboarding. Like I played Tony Hawk and stuff. I had a Yu-Gi-Oh skateboard when I was younger, but like I wasn't like super duper into it. So yeah, I mean, I guess I just kind of always assumed like skaters liked like NoFX and like all that like skate punk. Yeah, I guess you bring up a good point. I don't really know why the genre would be called skate punk then, if it's not what the skaters were listening to.
I mean, I guess it was originally what they were, because you think of Warped Tour and in its earlier days, like you think of skateboarders and like biking and rollerblading and just that whole like what X Games used to be. Now it's more motocross and dirt rally, which is crazy. But I feel like pop punk used to be a really big skateboarder thing, but nowadays I feel like it's more, you see more emo genres and even rap in skateboarders.
That's true. And I feel like hip hop has always been kind of a thing in skateboarding a little bit, because like obviously I wasn't actually around the scene, so my My experience with it is from playing Tony Hawk, but they always had like a bunch of like rap and hip hop and stuff in there. I mean, I couldn't really give you any specific examples right now because I definitely gravitated more towards like the pop punk and like skate punk stuff on the soundtracks. But I remember it, like there was stuff in there. Uh,
And
Go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say, and even like Warp Tour, towards the end, as a kid, I always wanted to go to Warp Tour, and I was always like, yeah. And then finally, as I was able to, just be like, all right, let's just drive to Dallas and let's go to Warp Tour. It was, there were so many genres in Warp Tour at that point that you could just see Warp Tour evolving from, Blink 182, Tsunami Bomb used to go very heavily, um, to just like a little bit of everything as far as like popular, not popular music, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I definitely feel in the more recent years, it went from like I know it was like originally skate punk and stuff, and then it kind of went into more of a just kind of like, for lack of a better term, like scene thing. Like that's where all like the scene bands are. Like I remember the last Warped Tour I went to, like I remember there was like Sleeping with Sirens was there, like Pierce the Veil, like all that kind of stuff. So it kind of, it definitely went more in like a scene direction, for lack of a better term.
And even like they even branched out and they had a lot of aspiring, like, I don't know, whatever you would consider, like MC Lars would go to Warp Tour, and Kosha Dills, which he is a Jewish rapper, really really great dude. Like he would go, and they just had like all kinds of different, like the stages were actually different genres at the end point. Like you had the main stages that were all your like big headliners, and then like all the different spread out stages were all different. Like you could go and find every different genre just by walking to a different part of the layout of the parking lot, and it was kind of cool that way.
Yeah, that is always cool. The only thing I don't like about Warp Tour though, with the multiple stages, is because they don't do it like that. I would love if they had all the different genres on the different stages, but they don't do it like that anymore. Remember the last time I went to Warp Tour? Well, actually, no. Last time I went to Warp Tour was 2018. But 2016, when I went in 2016, the two bands I wanted to see the most, because they were bands that I hadn't seen before live. There was a bunch of bands that I wanted to see, but I wanted to see these two above all because they were the only two at that point that I don't think I had seen live. That was Real Big Fish and Ballyhoo. And they were on separate stages, playing at almost identical times. I had to leave the Real Big Fish set before they finished theirs to go catch the end of Ballyhoo's set, and I was like, God damn it.
Yeah, and that kind of stunk with Warped Tour. Like I had a bunch of stuff that I really wanted to see, but then there's a lot of stuff that I didn't know because they don't, they never announced who actually completely was going to be there until like the day of. You get there, you take a picture of the big giant blow up
Yeah.
schedule,
Yeah, dude, and
and
they also, like, they don't tell you that, because the like the order of the bands to play is completely randomized each show, and they don't tell you. You see when you get there. I remember 2014, the one band I wanted to see, because at this point I hadn't seen them yet live. The one band I wanted to see was Bowling for Soup. They went on at 11, or they went on at 11:05. They were the first band. Now, when you get there, like, you got to go through like security and everything. You don't get, even though they start taking you in at 11, you're not going to be in there at 11:05 because you got to do security and like all that stuff, and you got to walk over to the thing. You got to see like who's playing what stage, and you got to walk over to the stage. So I didn't get in until maybe like 11:20, and I missed like a bunch of their songs. I was upset.
yeah, no, I feel that. We would jump in line. Like I think one year we got in line at doors opened at 10:30. I think we got there at 7:30 in the morning, and there was already lines
Yeah.
that were wrapping around the Coliseum. I was just like,
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah, and I remember I was like super upset because I heard like I think almost playing like in the distance. I was like, yo, wait, is Bowling for Soup up already? And my one friend sitting there, he's like, no, dude, they wouldn't do that. That's probably just the PA. I was like, all right, yeah, you're right. And then I look on the big blow up thing and I see 11:05 Bowling for Soup. I'm like, mother.
Dang it.
I remember that because we were talking about it for a little bit because I waited in line for like an hour to get some shit signed by them, and we were talking for a little bit. And I was like, yeah, dude, we missed like the first couple songs. I was upset. And they're like, yeah, it kind of sucks because they don't tell you when you're going on until like the day of. And I remember they brought up. I specifically remember them bringing up Mayday Parade because Mayday Parade was on the same time. I wasn't like a huge fan of Mayday Parade at the time, so I didn't really like pay attention. But yeah, like he made a good point. Like Mayday Parade, one of the biggest bands on the tour, they opened like 3 times already at that point. He said. And it's just,
So
yeah, it sucks. That the whole random thing. I don't think it would suck that bad if they would just let you know beforehand. Like if you could find out before you got to the thing and saw the big blow up screen, that would probably be a little bit better. But R.I.P. Warped.
oh man,
It's-
Mayday Parade. So that makes me just laugh because I've always been like semi kind of a Mayday Parade fan,
oh, there's no
and
shame.
they came to um one of the local venues one time, and I was sitting there, and me and my buddy were just like, we haven't been to a show in a bit. There hadn't been anything good. Let's go. Forget it. Why not? So we rolled up in there. I'm probably 20, 28, 29 at this point.
Okay.
And we roll up into the show, and there's not a single person over the age of 18 in this place. Except for the parents. Like you can see the
Yeah.
parents like lining the walls, and I'm just like, oh man, this is gonna be interesting.
I gotta tell, I'm actually a little shocked about that because like Mayday Parade, like they were big, but they were big in like 2007. So if you're
Right.
saying you were like 28, 29, that would have to be like 2016 or 2017. And
Yeah.
that just has me shocked because I gotta think like, I would feel like most of the people that were like 12, 13, 14 when they were big, they all gotta be like, in their late 20s, early 30s now. I'm shocked, but not disappointed. It actually makes me happy to know that like teenagers are still kind of listening to like Mayday Parade and stuff. Because I want to just say real quick, when I said I wasn't a fan, I didn't mean that I didn't like them. I just didn't really know them yet. I
Yeah.
know some of their stuff now. I really like the song Jamie All Over. But yeah, no, at the time, like when I said I wasn't a fan, I just more meant like I didn't really know them. No shame. I love that mid 2000s like really poppy. I guess maybe I don't really see them as neon though. Neon to me is more stuff like like Forever the Sickest Kids and like Cash Cash. Maybe even a little
Yeah.
bit of Hit the Lights, like their second album had some kind of neon-y stuff on there.
But
But
like that,
definitely like that mid 2000s like really poppy stuff. So like Mayday Parade, like All Time Low, dude, like I love that shit.
well, and that's the craziest part is like I look at I'll be sitting there with my daughter, and like she'll be listening to stuff, and then like she'll pop off like, I mean, she's really into My Chemical Romance.
Cool. Yeah, I was actually gonna ask you about that because, like, I know, like, obviously you are a dad, so I wanted to know, like, yeah, if your daughter, if she liked the same stuff as you, if she liked different stuff.
Well, honestly, she won't admit it, but like 90% of the stuff that she listens to, I listened to either in high school or right out of high school. And most of it is like bands from like early 2000. Of course, she listens to a lot of the newer stuff by them. Like, I used to like Panic at the Disco,
Okay.
like their first two albums,
Yeah.
and then once he like kicked the band and was like, "I'm going solo as Panic at the Disco," I feel like he just kind of went pop and that's it. And
Yeah,
it's like, okay, you're done.
yeah. As like a music fan, it kind of sucks. From a business perspective, I kind of get it, because like if you want to go solo, you probably will have more success if you keep the name of the band rather than just changing it to Brendan Urie. So I guess from a business perspective,
Right.
I do get it. Well, yeah, no, like as an actual like fan of music, it does kind of suck. Because I know, like, on their Wikipedia, too, it's like he's the only constant. Like, there's a revolving door of band members. Even before he just essentially went solo. Just a revolving door of band members.
Yeah, and basically what he does now, and I mean, respect to the guy, he plays all the instruments on the album. He does everything in the album himself. But
Yeah.
whenever he goes on tour, he basically just hires a band. And some of those guys are regulars, but everything on tour is just
So pretty much the 9 Inch Nails approach. Like, it's all Trent. It's all Trent. Like, when he goes live, he has a backing band, but on the recordings, it's all him.
exactly.
Yeah, and that's respectable. Like I said, I don't want to sound like a hater. Like, I'll be straight up. I'm really not a fan of Panic at the Disco, but I don't want to be like a hater. Like, I respect it, even if, like I said, as a music fan, it does kind of suck that he kicked out the whole band and went solo, and it's basically just a Brandon Urie show now. Like, from a business perspective, I get it.
I mean,
I get it. He already was the face of the band, like way back from like 2003.
One, it's because his voice. I mean, his voice on the first album, like blew me away. I was just like, wow, this dude's like different.
Yeah,
I like it. And then the second album, he still kind of had that difference, and the songs were definitely different from the first album. But I was just like, okay, well, they're doing their own thing. They're being different. I like it. Let's go with it. And then it just flipped a 180, and I'm just like, dude, you just like completely got rid of the voice that I even thought set you apart from everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always thought it was
okay.
Yeah, I always thought it was kind of funny because like Panic at the Disco has always kind of been like, to me, like, always kind of been like a Fall Out Boy 2.0. Because it's like when Fall Out Boy was doing like a whole emo thing, Panic at the Disco was doing the whole emo thing, and they sounded a little similar. And then Fall Out Boy went pop, and then Panic at the Disco goes pop. Because I know like their first album, when they were doing their first album, Fall Out Boy was still like pop punk. They weren't like emo yet. So I guess their first album isn't really copying Fall Out Boy, but I don't know. It's just kind of funny. Like, they even have kind of similar voices. I would say maybe Brendan Urie's is a little bit deeper, but they are kind of similar voices.
See, and Brittany, and I hear that, and I kind of see it, but like, to me, whenever Panic came out, they had that more like underground burlesque, like, what is it? Was that 50s or 60s feel?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. The whole, yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, their imagery was like, it was like, kind of like, oh, what's the word I'm like? I guess,
like
yeah,
Rat Pack-ish, kind of.
Burlesque kind of fits.
Yeah. But like, kind of like that Rat Pack feel, which was, I can't remember if that was, I'm drawing a blank on years of genres.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, though.
But yeah, like 50s. Yeah, 50s. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Kind of that more
the
bluesy,
whole like
Frank Sinatra's, but modern.
But modern and emo.
Yeah, exactly.
They're gonna wear the snazzy suits, but they're also gonna have the straightened black hair.
Right. It's like, bringing 1955 to today, or yesterday now.
Yeah, I would definitely say, yeah, probably the biggest what's the word I'm looking for? The biggest, I guess, influences on the image of emo will probably be, yeah, it would be Panic, My Chemical Romance, and then, weirdly enough, Green Day. Because they did the whole, I would say they did it probably before the whole, like, like the long black hair, like the all black clothes with the red ties and shit like that. They were doing that too. So I would say they probably had a little bit of influence on the emo image as well. I remember me and Ed were talking about that a couple weeks ago on the show.
Yeah. And definitely, they had a bit like, well, they always have had some like emu, emo, emo influence in their music. Even, you know, coming forth, originally they were that real grungy, like they had that true punk feel, which, I mean, that's really where pop punk started. It was grungy like punk, but they sang about different things.
Yeah,
They
it's
didn't.
different topics, and there's definitely like more melody in the lyrics. Because like I said, the other
Less.
skate punks from like the '90s is just like just shouting.
Well, and you look at, I mean, you listen to original, like the first Blink 182 album, the first albums from, well, I guess the first couple albums from Blink 182, and the first couple albums from Green Day, they were that real, like, raw, we recorded this in our garage punk feel. But yeah, instead of singing about political statements or, um, anarchy or
Which is
anything
I,
like that, they're like, we're gonna be lazy, we're gonna, smoke weed, and we're gonna drink beer, and we're just gonna, talk about girls. Um
which is ironic because I feel like Green Day has gotten like super political.
They have. Well, and that's kind of like I wanted to say evolution to de-evolution of Green Day, because like Green Day started pop punk, like they were in the front of punk changing into pop punk, and then they evolved with American Idiot, and they're like, we're going to do something completely different, and they got so much backlash for that. And then you just see them kind of devolve into more of a pop, or I would even say less pop, more punk, with that pop punk sound. So they went more into the roots, where they're like, we're going to be political, we're going to be, just forget everything, and just here it is.
Yeah,
And which was
and
really sad, because I feel like they could have been, well, and in all honesty, they might have ended up where Blink 182 was, if, you know, American Idiot would have taken off like it would have.
their bass player just leaves and they get John Feldman to produce an album.
Well, and I more think like the ways of, like, Fallout Boy. Uh, I don't even know if I wouldn't even consider them pop punk anymore.
Oh, definitely not. I mean, I consider them pop punk because when I'm bringing up Fall Out Boy music, talking about like "Take This to Your Grave" and like "From Under the Cork Tree." But yeah, no, I would definitely say post reunion, definitely not. And I would even say like after "From Under the Cork Tree" is like debatable.
Yeah, I mean, they did go, a little more poppy, but you still had that feel.
And again, not to sound like a hater, even if I'm not personally a fan of new Fall Out Boy, I still respect it. You don't get 16 million in your bank account playing "Sugar We're Going Down" in 2020. So I
I mean, you're
respect
not
it.
wrong.
I do
I
respect it.
mean, and that's why, like, I still heavily respect Bowling for Soup, as we were talking about Bowling for Soup earlier.
Hmm.
I'm super stoked they're actually recording an album right now.
Yeah, I
Um,
heard about that. Yeah, with their new bass player.
yeah, and they have
Who?
been recording all their farts and charting them, which,
Yeah, I saw that.
classic Bowling for Soup. I mean, I keep up with them pretty heavily on social media, and I'm just like, that. Yeah, that's classic Bowling for Soup. They're like 40 years old and recording farts in the studio to see who wins. And I honestly thought Chris was the one that was going to win, but I think Jarrett took the cake on who passed the most gas in the studio.
Well, there you have it. We're talking about Bowling for Soup's farts on the Pop Punk podcast. Yeah,
I mean,
I can't wait to hear their new album because they know like Rob, he does like he's their new bass player, and he's also the guitarist in Patent Pending, or at least one of them, because I think they have two. And he also does like backing vocals in a lot of like Patent Pending songs, and I actually really like his backing vocals. So I think like if he has any like singing parts on the new Bowling for Soup album, it's gonna sound really good. I think. Especially because like their old bass player Eric, like his voice kind of got like really raspy over like the years, because he's heavy smoker, and that's definitely. I remember like when I saw them at Warped Tour, like when I waited in line, they were coming out. Homie was smoking a cigarette like as he was walking out, and he was like flicking it onto the street and shit.
I mean, Eric also. I mean, he left to go pursue more family stuff. And I mean, Rob. I mean, because Patent Pending's under Jarrett Riddick's record label.
They are. I didn't know that.
Yes. Linus of Hollywood, Patent Pending, the Dolly Rots. They're all part of the Bowling for Soup tree.
Well, I do know that was actually my first exposure to Patent Pending. Was they did a three-way split. It was Bowling for Soup, the Dolly Rots, and Patent Pending, and I freaking loved Patent Pending's cover of Hyperactive.
Yeah,
they like sped it up. They made it really like crazy fast, and that's the type of shit I love. Like like the fast stuff. If it has that drum beat, I'm gonna probably be into it.
Yeah. And that's kind of where I got into Patent Pending too, is because you know I've always been a heavy Bowling for Soup fan, and obviously that's where I found MC Lars, because MC Lars was actually under Jarrett Riddick's record label for a little while in his very, very early years before he branched off and started DIYing everything himself.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you about that, because I know you either knew MC Lars personally, or you had a friend that's friends with MC Lars or something like that. Am I correct?
Well, I met MC Lars at my first Warped Tour. I went completely solo, just because it was like, I want to go to Warped Tour. Nobody could go with me. I'm like, let's go. Forget it. I'll meet people there, have fun. So I ended up actually hanging out with him quite a bit, and got to talking with JTL, which is his drummer. And I mean, I still keep up with JTL. He got me into Warped Tour one year when he was drumming with Kosha Dills, the Jewish rapper I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually know. Duty Beard actually knows JTL. They grew up together, so that was kind of like a like vicious circle of holy crap, it's a really small world. Because
why don't you tell just for those that are just listening on YouTube and might not know who he is, why don't you tell everybody who Duty Beard is?
So Duty Beard is a partnered Twitch streamer, and a really, really good dude. Probably one of the realest dudes I've met in a good while, but he's been in a bunch of bands. I mean, he knows a ton of pop punk. Like, if you like pop punk and you like watching people play video games, Duty Beard is, a hella good place to go, because he's always got good tunes playing, because he knows all these people, so he doesn't get copyrighted for the stuff.
Yeah, I remember when I was in his stream the other night, he had like Chunk No Captain Chunk playing. I was like, holy shit, I did not expect to hear Chunk in a friggin' Twitch stream.
And he has he has videos. Like one of his videos is a couple of the members of Real Big Fish telling him he sucks. So he just has a lot of really, really cool like emo punk vibes. So that's always really cool.
Yeah, that's super cool. that's really cool, especially like from someone like me who is just really into like pop punk and like emo and stuff. Even like a little bit of skate punk, although I'm admittedly not into that as much as pop punk. But like all that stuff, like that's super cool. That's just super cool to hear.
Yeah, and I like I told you before, like I love that it's deemed skate punk now, because like back then it was just pop punk.
Yeah.
when we were all just hanging out at the skate park, and we had the speakers like latched to our backpacks, and we had our boom boxes out there that, you know, we hope we had extra D cell batteries to put in the things when they died.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just branched that down as like, because pop punk is a genre that it has had a ton of eras. It had, you know, that early '90s, I guess, skate punk in finger quotes era. You know, then it had like the top 40 era, which is, you know, like Blink, Newfound Glory, Sum 41, Bowling for Soup, Good Charlotte, that whole era. Then it had the what I'm going to call the mall emo era, which is, you know, your My Chemical Romances, your Panic at the Discos, your, you know, your Fall Out Boys,
emo era.
Where yeah, it's like I say mall emo. As I've said before on the podcast, but I'll just say it again real quick. I say it like kind of as a joke, but like with love, because I'm not making fun of the genre, because I actually personally really love mall emo. I'm really more making fun of, because whenever you say you like emo and you're talking about like Hawthorne Heights or like Escape the Fate, there's always going to be that one old head that says, that ain't real emo. You gotta listen to fucking Jawbreaker. So
That's true.
So I consider, I say mall emo, and then I call that 90s stuff real emo in finger quotes, kind of like to make fun of those old heads.
Well, you know, and it makes me laugh too. It's like, well, it makes me sad actually, because I think I told you about my Hawthorne Heights experience. So right after their screamer died, they took a hiatus for a little while. I was supposed to go see them on their like returning tour. They came through town, and I was going with my sister's husband, and I didn't end up getting to go. So they were hanging out after the show, trying to, you know, finish their beers and just hanging out talking. And the bouncers was like, "Hey, you guys got to go. We're closing." And Hawthorne Heights walks up to him, and they're just hanging out. And they're like, "Hey, why don't you guys come over to our tour bus? We got some extra beers. We can just hang out. You know, just keep this going a little bit." So my brother-in-law got to go and his brother got to go hang out with Hawthorne Heights on their tour bus and drink beer. I was just like, man, I should have been there.
Yeah, that does suck. I would have been so sad, because Hawthorne is probably one of my favorites in the whole like mall emo sub genre.
Yeah.
And it actually kind of makes me upset, because like Ohio is for Lovers was probably like the single, like if you had to pin one whole like song on the whole genre, it would probably be, for me, Ohio is for Lovers. Either that or Welcome to the Black Parade. But Hawthorne Heights, they're not a part of like the big four. Like the big four it would be, I guess, My Chemical Romance, Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco, and Paramore. And Hawthorne Heights is like a B-teamer these days. Like I'm not trying to diminish Ohio is for Lovers, but like, you know, you got the big four is like selling out stadiums and shit, and then you got Hawthorne Heights, who is like opening up for Newfound Glory. They're just not on the same level these days, and it kind of makes me upset, because I actually like them a lot more than the big four, for lack of a better term. Again, not to be a hater, you know, I respect the big four, but I also really like Hawthorne, and I wish they would upgrade it to a big five, and Hawthorne could be on that same level.
I don't know, man. I like the smaller venue, like smaller venues, stuff like that happens. I've never been to a big show that you know, cool shits happen. Like we get nothing but like small venues around here, except for, you know, when Taylor Swift comes to town, and, you know, Scott comes down, and I'm just like, gross. But
well, as a music fan, I mean, my favorite show I've ever been to was probably Zebrahead and Patent Pending at the Knitting Factory in Brooklyn, because it was such a small venue that I think it was actually, the venue was, I think, about half the size of the basement in my old house. So as a music fan, yes, I like the small venues too. But you just, you know, I always try to look at things with a business sense too, and it's just like, damn. Hawthorne's really out here playing like these smaller venues, while, you know, you got MCR and Fall Out Boy and Paramore all selling out like these big stadiums.
Right.
It just makes me think, damn, because
Well, and that's like I don't know if you remember the band Hello Goodbye.
I do remember that band. Yeah,
I'm
they're
trying to
kind of
remember.
they were at least the song that I heard. I only really know I think one song, but the song I heard kind of sounded like Cash Cash before Cash Cash was a thing.
Yeah, they were very bright. So I would probably put them in like the neon category, like you said.
Yeah, I would
Uh,
almost say because I know that they kind of were like a one hit wonder. I would almost say
yeah,
their issue was just they were ahead of their time because that album was like 2006.
yeah. I was gonna say they ended. I'm pretty sure they ended about 2013.
Yeah.
So I got to see them when I was in college. Oh, I guess they go more emo pop, power pop in that category.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to one of the funniest shows I went to is they had an old school tube TV with Mario Kart set on up on it, Mario Kart 64. And you just walk up and they were just like chilling playing Mario Kart. And I popped in with them and I was like, man, let me get on some of this Mario Kart. Because I had no fear as a kid and like bands and things like that. I didn't
Yeah.
really get starstruck. And I was just like, yo, you guys are playing Mario Kart 64. Let me jump in on that. So I'm sitting there and I'm playing just Mario Kart 64 on this little bitty old TV. And I can say that I beat Hello Goodbye in Mario Kart 64.
That's awesome. That's really awesome.
It's just fun little happenings at shows and things like that. That's what gets me. And like you don't get that from the bigger venues. And
But that's true. That's true. Like I said, I talk about things from a business sense, but you don't get that like intimate feeling. Like I said, the reason I like the Zebrahead show so much, like there's no guardrail. So when they were playing, what's the name of the song? When they were playing Back to Normal, we all jumped on stage, and I was like literally right next to Maddie. We were all just shouting, like, "I
and
just want you back to normal."
they love that. Like see, and that's where if anything, like that's what I would have always loved to have been in that scene is just to be. I wouldn't care to sell out venues or anything like that. Like it would have been amazing just to be like, hey, we're still doing just how we love it.
No, dude, I mean that's respectable too. Like there's the two big viewpoints, right? There's like the how do I make sure that like my album sells, and then there's just the like, yo, let's just fucking raise the roof. Let's fucking have a big ass party. Let's play this small intimate venue where people can like jump on stage and shit. And you know what? Both viewpoints are very valid.
They are.
No one viewpoint's better than the other because you know what? Music means different things to different people, and that's pretty much that's where it comes down to. Music just it means different things to different people, and that's respectable. That's why, like we were talking last week when me and Ed we were doing our underground episode. We were talking about better luck next time. How like the reason that I like them so much is probably the reason that they never really broke to that next level was because they just kind of did the same thing on all four albums, and it was four very good albums, but it was like literally kind of the same thing. And at that point, that's probably just what they wanted. They just wanted to put out like pop punk bangers. And if that's what they wanted to do, they succeeded because they all four of those albums are great.
Right. And I think that would be my viewpoint is like I wouldn't care like if I could just get something out there and people liked it and I could see like a little bit like a bowling like say Bowling for Soup level. Like they have like the most hardcore underground fan base ever. And like I've been to shows and they've always been sold out. Like I went to the anniversary show in Dallas. That show was packed with so many people.
Yeah, they seem to have like a huge cult following, for lack of a better term, because like there's they're still like they never. All their albums sound like exactly the same, and they're still able to put them out every like 2 to 3 years. Like I
Yeah,
think right now has been the longest wait in between albums, and that's like what I think 4 years. I think their last album came out in like 2016. It's
I
like
think so.
yeah, it's like a 4 year
Drunk.
wait. And for most other bands, that's like just the normal because like they gotta pay bills and shit. But for them, like that's a long wait. So clearly, whatever they're doing something right. Because
Yeah, 'cause, I mean,
you don't put out albums every couple years if you can't afford to.
they did a live album in like 2008, 2006. So 2006 to 2009 was like a 3-year hiatus, and I think
Yeah.
that's about the time that I think Jared was trying to get the record label up and going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
And
I know
then
he does a lot of like producer stuff too.
yeah, he does all the work with patent pending and the Dolly Rots as well. So there's always a little bit of Bowling for Soup in them. And then yeah, cuz Eric left in 2019 fully.
Yeah.
They had Rob, he would fill in for Eric, whenever
Yeah, because I
Eric had
remember
like some family stuff.
when I saw them Warped Tour 2018, Eric wasn't there. I guess it was Rob. We were kind of far back, so I couldn't see who was playing bass. I knew it wasn't Eric because that motherfucker looked a little too young to be Eric. Because
Right.
Eric, no offense to Eric, but yo, he got old over the last
Well, I
like few
mean,
years. Like he looked old. Again, no offense, no offense,
and
Eric.
I love that Jared
But
keeps the same hair. Like that's the great part is he's got the same hair that he had 20 years ago in the 90s, 2000s.
hey, keeping it in style, it's respectable. But yeah, so yeah, when I saw him in 2018, like I was kind of far back, so I couldn't see if it was Rob per se, but I knew that motherfucker was a little too young to be Eric. So I was wondering, I was like, yo, that's definitely not their usual bass player. Where's their bass player? And then yeah, then I hear he left, and I'm like, okay, so that's probably why he wasn't there at that show. So even if it wasn't official until 2019, I knew it was kind of brewing for a little bit.
Well, yeah, I think so one of the first shows or one of the first Warped Tour, or the first Warped Tour I went to, he was Eric had a no, not Eric. Gary had just had his baby. So he was out. So they had somebody filling in for Gary. And it's kind of crazy to think, because I mean life happens. But and then yeah, Eric, I think Eric, I don't know if he had trouble with his voice or if he was just, he was like, I just want to spend some time with my family. There was something in there like that where they were just like, okay, he's like, I'm getting older. I need to chill a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you, those guys still party like crazy, and it's insane.
And I remember we were talking about this before. I definitely feel like there also was a little bit of creative differences too, because I know Eric was a little more like artsy than the rest of the band, so he might have wanted to try and do more serious stuff. But like how Bowling for Soup are, they're like the poster boys of like that like silly brand of pop punk.
Yeah, well,
So
and
he might have wanted to do more serious like artistic stuff, and they also probably like, nah, bro, that ain't us.
well, Jarrett and Eric actually had an offshoot band that was, well, I guess not even really a band. They just had them doing it. So they have a couple albums that are just Jarrett and Eric
Yeah.
doing some stuff. Of course, Jarrett and Rob have a couple albums. I don't know. I'm not sure. I can't remember.
Jared
Christy
has a bunch of
Darlington.
shit. Jared has a bunch of shit. I know that.
Yeah.
I think Jared also was on a freaking Sonic game.
Possibly. I know Jarrett did. I mean, Jarrett's also known as Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah.
So he took over the
R.I.P.
newer
R.I.P.
Chuck E.
Chucky.
Cheese, right?
Yeah, dude, I remember when I went to one of their shows.
They opened up with the Chuck E. Cheese song.
No, it made me laugh because it was somebody's birthday. And I forget why, but they were talking about singing happy birthday. It's like, I'm contractually obligated to not sing the happy birthday song. But I was like, but I want to wish you a happy birthday. It made me laugh the way he said it.
I actually got to hear the elusive happy birthday Bowling for Soup song when I was 20. I think it was my 20th birthday. Let's see, when did Sorry for Partying come out? 2009?
2009, yeah.
So 2006, I was 18. So it would have been my 21st birthday. I was at the Sorry for Partying tour, and me and another guy, it was our birthdays, so we got the happy birthday song from Bowling for Soup in 2009. And I actually still have the poster that says happy birthday on it that they signed for me.
That's freaking cool.
Yeah, I need to pull some of my posters out. I've got so much stuff from all the different music adventures I've went on in my life.
Yeah, that's super cool. So real quick, we spiraled into a whole ass conversation right there. Not that it's bad. I enjoyed that conversation. I just want to tell you about what I've been listening to this week. Because this is a staple of the podcast. I just wanted to say it real quick. So, I've been listening to a little bit of like heavier stuff this week. I've been listening to a lot of Atreyu. I've been listening to a little bit of like Kill Switch and As I Lay Dying, which as anybody that watches the podcast will know, I definitely don't like metalcore as much as pop punk. I definitely don't have enough knowledge to do a whole like metalcore themed podcast. Because I think I really only know like the entry level stuff, like All That Remains, Kill Switch Engage, As I Lay Dying, Atreyu. But I do really enjoy like heavier stuff too. Like when I'm like just kind of like mixing it up a little bit. So I've been listening to a little bit of that. I've been also listening to a lot of the underground suggestions we were talking about last week. A lot of like the more kind of like underrated bands. I've been listening to a little bit of Punchline. Been listening to a little bit of Billy Idol.
Billy Idol.
And yeah, and just some very good stuff. My top 5 on Spotify still hasn't freaking updated, which is weird because I haven't listened to really any Falling in Reverse in a while. But my top 5 is still Bad Girls Club by Falling in Reverse, My Fork in the Road, Your Knife in My Back by Atreyu, The Guillotine by Escape the Fate, Awkward Conversations by 5 Year Plan, and then Game Over by Falling in Reverse. And then the next 2 to round out the top 7 would be The Crimson by Atreyu and Concert for Aliens by Machine Gun Kelly. Which that's another thing I've been listening to a lot since yesterday, because it came out yesterday, but I've been listening to a little bit of MGK's new album, which we're gonna talk a little bit more of that in a little bit. So that's pretty much just what I've been listening to this week. I just wanted to throw that out there real quick.
So as Arnold would say, you've been listening to As I Lay Crying.
Yes. Yes, I have, because I love that. So As I Lay Dying, the lead singer, and I think it's only the lead singer, did a like joke metalcore side project, called Austrian Death Machine. All the songs are taken from like Arnold quotes, and the songs are like all about like those quotes. Like I love this song. I love the song "Get to the Chopper."
Yes, so they wrote each one of those albums in every time they put out an album, they wrote it in a night. So those albums were made in one night.
Yeah, and I love it. It's like I said, Get to the Chopper is a banger.
Austrian Death. When you said As I Lay Dying, I'm like, Austrian Death Machine.
Well, As I Lay Dying. So Atreyu is definitely my favorite of like the like heavier like metalcore stuff, but I kind of don't put them in the same like I guess tier as the other stuff because it kind of sound a little different. Like Atreyu kind of has more of a definitely a lot more of an emo vibe to them than like say As I Lay Dying or Killswitch Engage. Like if you listen to like any of their like Right Side of the Bed, The Crimson, Ain't Love Grand, those are all honestly really just emo songs with a lot more screaming in them. Like most emo songs kind of have screaming in the background. They would just be emo if they went like full, like just put screaming at the forefront. Other than that, it's a lot of it's really like a lot more emo sounding.
See, I put them more in the screamo category, which I did fall into a 2000 screamo kick there for a minute too in going through all of my, you just search punk and then there's just so many different genres and they fall a lot under the 2000 screamo.
Okay, so for those of us that don't know, what would you classify as 2000 screamo?
Well, I mean, lightly you have like not lightly for them, but the Used, Thrice, Senses Fail.
Okay, so like post-hardcore pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. Hawthorne Heights sometimes gets placed in there because, before the Screamer died, they had a few more heavier tracks.
Yeah, post-hardcore is my second love. Like pop punk is definitely my favorite because this ain't called the post-hardcore podcast. But post-hardcore is definitely like my second favorite type of music. I mean, I guess it also helps is a lot of it is kind of interchangeable with pop punk because you have some post-hardcore bands is just, it kind of blurs the line between like, it's a blanket term for kind of everything that's like maybe just a pop punk but a little bit heavier, and then everything that's basically just metalcore.
Yeah.
It's a spectrum. Because, like, Senses Fail is actually a good example because their discography is a spectrum. You have some songs like Double Cross, Double Cross is just a pop punk song through and through.
Well, and that's where pop punk and emo and post-art, like all of it.
Yeah, it's the same.
Place.
It's the same family. It's the same family for sure. But you got Double Cross, which is just a pop punk song, and then all the way on the other side, you got songs like Steven, You're Cute When You Scream. What else was like The Irony of Dying on Your Birthday?
Right.
And then they also have like that friggin' metalcore album they did. Which I can't remember the name of the song right now, but there's one song. I'm gonna look it up right now on Spotify. I'm trying to remember its name. It's off their 2013 album.
Atreyu falls in the 2000 screamo category too.
What's
in
the
my
name
opinion.
of it? What? No, it's a 2015 album. My apologies. Dying Words. That one is just basically metalcore. So Senses Fail is a good example of that because they're kind of all over the place. And you know what? I think Atreyu is actually a good bridge because I also wanted to talk about. We have a few current events that I definitely wanted to talk about this week because, like I said, pop punk is a genre where there's really not a whole lot of current events going on, but there is a few current events, and one of them does involve Atreyu, which I know Atreyu isn't really pop punk, but you know what? Again, this is a genre that doesn't really get a whole lot of current events, and there's still similar scenes. So we're going to talk about it. So basically, there's a rumor floating around that Alex, I might butcher your name. If I do and you're watching, I apologize. Alex Varkatsas, their lead vocalist, and he typically does like the screaming for the band. There's rumors that he left. Now, I don't know how true it is. I've been kind of like reading a little bit about it. Apparently he's saying like, don't believe everything you hear, but he's not officially like confirming or denying it. So there's a rumor going around that he may be quitting.
So updated 2 days ago, he came out and said it was fake news.
Okay, fair enough. Because I watched a video that did say it commented on the whole fake news thing, but then they're saying he didn't actually confirm or deny it. So I hope
Yeah.
I hope it's not true because I do really like his vocals. They were kind of rough on the earlier albums, but they got a lot better later on. Especially the screaming. The singing's been fine since day one. The screaming was a little rough around the edges on like Suicide Notes and Butterfly Kisses, but they got a lot better as early as the Curse. Like the Curse, his screaming's like pretty good, I would say. And it would suck because, like I said, Atreyu is probably my favorite from like the metalcore side of things. And also, one other thing I wanted to say, another current event in pop punk. Our friends over at Win by Two, they have. So if you're watching this live on Twitch, it's not out yet. It'll be out on Tuesday. But if you're watching on YouTube, right, this will be uploaded on Tuesday. So today, our friends at Win by Two, they have a new song out. It's called Wasted Away. And I definitely recommend it. John showed it to me and Ed the last time we were over his house tracking for the Knockout Kings EP. And it's good stuff, yo. If you like late 2000s pop punk, you'll love it. You'll get a real kick out of it. I personally remember it kind of sounding like City Lights. So if you were watching last episode when I brought up City Lights and you're like, yo, that band's pretty good, yo, check out Win by Two. You'll like them. And that's actually not the last current event. We have one more. One more that I wanted to talk about. The MGK's new album just dropped. And that is pop punk news because the album is a pop punk album. Have you heard it yet, Keane?
I have not.
You should listen to it. It's got some good stuff on it. I was actually kind of blown away. Because whenever they say, like, you know, when they said MGK is trying out pop punk, I'm thinking, okay, it's probably not going to be that great. It's probably going to be alright. But, like, I'd still just rather listen to, like, Blink or, you know, like, Better Luck Next Time. But no, it's actually, there's some songs on there that are really, really good. I really like the song Concert for Aliens. And then there's another song on there called Forget Me Too that's also really, really good. Those are probably my two favorite songs off the album. I'm not going to get too in depth because me and Ed are talking about starting album reviews on the podcast. So maybe we'll start out with that one because that one, like, it's a fresh new release. So I'm not going to get too in depth, but I just want to say it's out and it's actually pretty good. There's a couple songs on there that kind of lean more into like hip hop, which is expected because he built his whole career off of being a hip hop artist. But I was shocked at how good his pop punk songs are. The voice is a little deep, okay, you know, like I'm used to my pop punk vocals being very high pitched, but yeah, other than that, like I'm just completely blown away and shocked by how good and how actually pop punk his pop punk album was. So Keane, if you have anything else to add, other than that, I think that'll conclude the current events section of the podcast.
Well, I was going to say, so, you know, we had talked about how I had not really listened to any Blink-182 since they made the big change of No More Tom and,
yes,
you know, other than like the one or two songs I heard at TwitchCon last year. So I, in my punk playlist surfing that I've been doing, the song I Really Wish I Hated You came on, and I didn't realize it was Blink-182 until I heard, you know, Mark, because, you know, otherwise you can't tell a Blink-182 song from, you know, a different one now because you don't hear Tom and Mark, you just hear Mark, and then you're like, oh, that's Blink-182.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's also, I would say that one's probably one of the poppiest songs off of 9.
You know, and I actually kind of liked it.
I mean, if you like it, you like it. That's no wrong with that.
It was super catchy, and I was like, oh my gosh, I hate that I like this, but I kind of like this. You know, it as a Blink-182 song, no, I wouldn't like it, but just as a song that I got about 3/4 of the way through it, and then I was like, oh wait, shit, that's Mark. Wait. Oh, that's on the I still kind of like it.
Yeah, that's definitely one of their poppiest songs off that album, I would say. But I mean, the album's not all bad. I obviously am very, very opinionated on Blink past 2016, but I mean, it just like every Blink album, it has its moments, it has its good songs, and it has its bad songs, which is pretty much just where Blink 182 has been for me since 2003.
I mean, I say bring back Boxcar Racer and Plus 44, and I'd be completely happy to never get another Blink 182 album after this one.
Yeah, which is yeah. Me and Ed have talked about that too. Definitely 100% the reason that Blink 182 is still going. It's just you can't see it because this is an audio only podcast, but I'm rubbing my hands together like like money.
Yeah, no, I mean it is. I mean, I get it. Like I said, more power to you. Mark is still like, I mean, he was my hero growing up because the way he played that bass guitar. Him and Mike Dirnt from Green Day were the reasons that I picked up a bass guitar, and I still have. I mean, I have a Mark Hoppus signature bass in my closet right now, and I'm not ashamed because it was from way back in the day of take off your pants and jacket. That I got it. So, I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. And I still say that Plus 44 was like the it took me back whenever Tom left the first time. Like Plus 44 took me back to Blink 182 before all the, angsty, I guess, would you say angsty bullshit?
I mean, I guess the angsty for me probably started with their self-titled album.
Well, yeah, and that was because
I mean, I guess Boxcar Racer was pretty angsty as well.
Yeah,
I mean, Boxcar
Mark
Racer
got a little butthurt that he wasn't put in that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he was featured on one of the songs. But, yeah, I mean, I guess I could understand because it's like, on the one hand, Tom wanted to do something a little different, but then on the other hand, he included Travis, but not Mark.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I can kind of get where Mark's coming from.
And then before the self-titled album, Tom left to do Angels and Airwaves, and then that's where Plus 44 was born. And honestly, like Plus 44 really felt like Blink 182 in style. Of course there wasn't Tom, so it wasn't Blink 182, and I really respected that they didn't call it, Blink 182. They're like, yeah, we're gonna make Plus 44, and this will be, its own thing. Rather than now, they're like, this is Blink 182. No, you don't have Tom, so you're like Blink 118, or just Blink 18, not Blink 182. You just chopped off a number.
You're Blink 181, yo.
Yeah. Or, just take something away. You're not Blink 182 anymore. You're something completely different. Like, I don't care how many times you play the old songs, you're technically not Blink 182 anymore. And that's personal belief. That would be like saying Bowling for Soup.
I will say, if we're going down that rabbit hole, then you could argue the same when they kicked out Scott.
Yeah, I mean,
just to play devil's advocate, because I think I'm Team Tom as well. But just to play devil's advocate.
An alcoholic? Wasn't that the problem? Is Scott became a really big alcoholic? And
I believe so. But I'm just saying, just to play devil's advocate, because there probably are some people out there that really think like that. It's not Blink-182 unless they got Scott Rayner playing drums. Yeah, I personally disagree.
He went on to Aqua, and Aqua became a Blink-182 hate band.
I'm pretty sure. Remember that?
Didn't he go to Aqua? What? Let's see. Now I gotta look this up because I I want to say he went to Aqua like shortly after, and uh, I guess he didn't. I guess he didn't do anything else.
All I know is I remember he was playing some kind of band, and I remember they covered "Damn It," and I was just watching the video like, oh, like it like made me sad. I'm thinking like, I mean that man, he's got to have some kind of money because them "Damn It" royalty checks are probably a pretty penny, but like Mark and Tom and Travis, they're all eating like the lobster tails and everything, and he's probably eating at like Denny's.
So apparently, there's a Scott Raynor pop figure.
Oh, very nice.
That's Blink 182. Like it's literally the bull from the album that Damn It was on.
Very nice. I like
kind of
that.
funny.
That is pretty funny.
He also does a lot of fan art of Mark, Tom, and Scott show. Apparently he still definitely holds a grudge in that whole series of everything. But I mean, from what I understood, is like he was drunk, they were about to go on. Travis walked up and was like, "Hey, I know all your songs. Let's do this."
Yeah,
And he was like passed out or something.
And honestly, dude, like I would say, I mean, I definitely feel bad for the guy because he got kicked out right before they got like mega famous. But honestly, though, like if they didn't kick him out, I don't think they would be on the same level. I just don't, because Travis is definitely the superstar of the group.
He's ungodly.
Like
what
like
he can do.
like he's, well, not even necessarily that. He's just definitely like a much more marketable person than Scott. Like Scott's just kind of like just a regular dude.
Yeah.
But Travis, he's got like that rock star body. Like he's got more tattoos than blank skin. he doesn't have it anymore. But I remember like in in their heyday, he had like the big mohawk and everything.
So it was always funny because
definitely,
it's like,
and on top of that, like he had the talent to back it up as well.
Yeah.
So like because honestly, I never noticed until we started tracking the Knockout Kings EP. Good drummer really makes or breaks the band. Because you got a bad drummer. Well, if you have like just an okay drummer, the song's gonna sound bland. But if you have a really good drummer that can kind of elevate your shit, like it's gonna sound good. And that's exactly what Travis did. And then on top of that, like he's just a much more marketable person than Scott. And he's undoubtedly the most popular member of the band, which I think is very weird because he is definitely the one that doesn't talk as much.
No. Well, and he had his TV show. I guess Mark's had a TV show now, too.
Yeah, well, I know Mark had a talk show.
Or, yeah, he had that show on Fuse or whatever. But now, like, it's funny because you can definitely, like, I just trolled through his Facebook page. You can definitely tell there's some hard feelings there. And I get it. I do.
Yeah, like I said, I definitely do feel bad for the guy, even though I think it's kind of partly them kicking him out is what made them famous. At least, like, mega famous. Because, like, damn it, still charted and everything. But, like, yeah, it's undoubted. Like, Enema is where they got, like, became, like, superstars.
I think it really put them to where they could go where they wanted to go. They could get from that.
But I definitely do still feel bad for Scott.
Yeah, no, I do too.
And I'm not in any means saying the Scott is a bad drummer. Not at all. I mean,
no,
to be able to play like with that kind of speed for a whole live set, like you gotta be at least decent to be able to do that. But no, Travis is definitely on another level of both talent and marketability.
Well, the funniest thing that I always thought with Blink-182 is like in their earlier videos and stuff, it's like, Travis had so many tattoos. Mark had a few, or no, Tom had a few, and then Mark had none. So it was like the different varies of, extremes. Like you had Travis, who had the mohawk, he had all the tattoos, and then Tom had a little bit crazier of an attitude, and he had some tattoos. And then Mark always seemed like that more mellow businessy guy that was like turned punk, and he had no tattoos at the time. And that was always the like funniest thing to me is it's like they would always throw that like level of craziness out there.
You have tattoos, some tattoos, and no tattoos.
Yeah. I mean, I think Mark has some now, but
Yeah.
like originally he was like super like, no, I don't want to do that to my body. And he's like, I don't judge anybody that does it. But he's like, I just don't have any. And then Tom was like, yeah, I have a few. And then you look at Travis and he's like, I don't even have to say it.
I know, yeah. That motherfucker literally just can go shirtless and still have a shirt on. That's how many tattoos he has.
Yeah, exactly. So I always thought that funny with Blink 182 and just their varying differences between each other. And then you have like bands like Bowling for Soup, like they're all equally crazy and just estranged dudes. And then Green Day, they're all pretty much the same people. Like they all were just kind of that reserved punk.
Yeah, Green Day to me, they always kind of got more lumped in with like the rock crowd than like the pop punk and like emo crowd. Like Boulevard Broken Dreams definitely was like I would say that was a more emo song. But aside from that, like, they definitely get put like in the same, like they play on the local rock stations. They get lumped in with like Aerosmith and shit rather than like, Blink.
I
They've
know, and
always
that's
and
so
their
crazy to
fan
me.
base, I notice, seems to be made up mostly, not all, because I know a lot of people do genuinely like pop punk, but their fan base definitely seems to mostly be people that don't like pop punk and mainly just like rock.
Yeah, no, and that's so crazy to me because you go back, what was it, 1039 Smoothed Out Slappy Hours, which was their first full album,
Mm-hmm.
and it was literally all of their EPs lumped into one album, which is why the crazy weird title. Because I think it was like 1039 was their first EP, and then Smooth, I think Smoothed Out was their second EP. Slappy Hours was their third EP, and they lumped it together, and that was their first marketed album
Yeah.
in like 80 something.
Yeah, I was
Like
gonna
that
say,
is,
I'm pretty sure that's 1989.
yeah, and that was like pure, almost borderline, just straight punk.
Yeah, yeah, it's very punky.
It has that very, what was it, Cheshire Cat feel, which was, I think, that was Blink 182's first album, if I'm not mistaken. No, Buddha. I think Buddha was their first album, um, which was, I think, like 80. I think it was around, no, I think it was around 91 was when Buddha came out.
So yeah,
And that,
according to this, the 1039 Smoothed Out Slappy Hours came out in 1991.
yeah.
But
And
it was
so,
recorded between December 1988 and April 20th, 1990.
yeah, because that was, I think that was when they first got signed. And they they pretty much threw all of the stuff they had recorded previously into one album.
Yeah, which sort of like to put a spin on. I would say that's probably actually going to be what Knockout Kings does. Is we're gonna put just singles out, and then when we have enough singles to put together an EP or like a full length album, I think that's just what we're gonna do. But we're gonna release the singles individually first. So kind of almost like we're just putting out singles, but we're just putting out every single from the album. Like every song's gonna be a single. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
and that was kind of like, well, that was their We're Not Big Enough. Like all of their EPs were all non-labeled.
And it also definitely makes sense because, like, as I was saying, either last week or the week before, like, you know, people that are into music, like, we will go and seek out a band's EP, but most people that are just kind of passively into music, they're not going to give a shit about EPs. So I totally understand from like a marketing perspective, like putting a bunch of EPs together and then calling it an album, because that's mostly what people are going to look out for.
Yeah, because Buddha came out in 1994.
Yeah,
and that was the first. So that was when they were with Filter Records, and then Cheshire Cat was their grilled cheese record. I
yeah,
always love
and
that
I
one.
know Mark considers Buddha to be their first album, which
Yeah,
I don't know if I agree with that because I think a lot of the songs from Buddha ended up on Cheshire Cat anyway. But I mean, hey, if that's what he says, that's what he says. I'm not gonna be like, no, you're wrong, considering he's from
there's
Blink, talking about
there's
Blink albums.
there's 23 versions of Buddha, and there's 45 versions of Cheshire Cat that have been released.
Damn.
That's that crazy thing. Well, there was 76 versions of Take Off Your Pants and Jacket
Well,
that were released.
I do know there was multiple different versions that had different songs on it for "Take Off Your Pants and Jacket." Like I know, the song "Time to Break Up" was on like one of the versions of the album, and then "Don't Tell Me It's Over" was on another version of the album, which are two very good songs. I like both of
And
those songs, and I
so
wish that they were on Spotify.
they had the Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, just the regular. Then they had the red LP, they had the yellow LP, and the green EP. Each one had a funny joke song and then a serious song.
Oh yeah, the infamous "I want to fuck a dog in the ass."
Yes, so there was that one. And
I'm
there
gonna
was
stop before I get demonetized.
right, and then there was what was it, when you fucked grandpa, and what was the other one? I can't remember the other one. But yeah, so that was the craziest part with that is there was literally the three split offs. Yeah, the red, green, and yellow splatter. They were Hot
Yeah.
Topic exclusives. Oh.
Hot topic. Ooh. Now you're speaking my language.
That's a hot topic right there. But yeah, nobody ever really talks about the exclusive joke tracks because they were literally just on those three albums, and then they're like super. Well, I guess except for the one, um, the fuck a dog in the ass. That one became like really big.
Yeah, that's I would say that's probably like that and Family Reunion are probably like the poster boys of their joke songs.
Yeah, I really loved what was on the Mark Tom Travis show, which was their live album. I freaking loved that album. I actually had the limited edition of that one, and that's where Man Overboard first appeared.
Uh-huh.
And they did,
The
I
song,
think
not
it
the
was,
band.
yes,
Although
yeah.
the band did get their name from the song. The band is actually like from around my area.
But song number 8 was the blowjob song, and that one always cracked me up. Because I want to go back to early 2000s and go to a Blink 182 show because they did all of the like over the top things just to be crazy. Like Man Overboard, the whole music video is a reshoot of which music video did they reshoot? I can't remember,
What's
but
my age
it's
again? But instead of
yeah.
them, it was like midgets.
Yes, and that's like one of the little things. It's like their security guards. They always hired little people, um, because they were just like that was kind of the thing. Like their security guards are always little people.
Really? I didn't know
Um,
that.
yeah, for like the longest time in a lot of their shows, and that was kind of like their thing. Is they're like, we're hiring these guys because it's awesome, and like I feel like that music video they shot, they got like the most spitting image people and I was just like, that's the best.
Well, they did "What's My Age Again" again, for one of their newer songs. She's out of her mind. But instead of them, it was girls. It was like Lele Pons, Hannah
That's
Stocking,
awesome.
and somebody else who I don't know. And I mean, they are very good looking girls, I will say. But yeah, the music video is it's just "What's My Age Again," just gender bent.
That's awesome.
I don't even think actual Blink is in there. And the nurse that comes out towards the end, which in "What's My Age Again" is like the nurse from the album cover. And She's Out of Her Mind, the nurse is Adam from Workaholics.
Nice.
So yeah, so it's literally "What's My Age Again," just gender bent. But yeah, so I guess that concludes the Blink talk. Unless you had anything else you wanted to say.
No. I'm trying to think of somebody I got to see, and I can't remember now. But they were like the godfathers of punk rock, and they came to the final Warped Tour show, and I got to see them, and it was surreal. They don't go by technically the same name that they went by then,
Hmm.
but
Okay. So then, in that case, I guess I wanted to ask. So we talked a lot about pop punk and like metalcore and just a bunch of stuff within the scene. So outside of the scene, what would you say some genres of music that you love would be?
oh, that's such a broad spectrum.
Yeah, so like
Um,
just no like pop punk or anything like that. Outside of that stuff. Like
I
I know the podcast knows I do get a kick out of hair metal, and I do also get a kick out of new metal. But
oh
that's me.
man. So, gosh, I mean, I still I listen to a lot of like Sick World. I don't know exactly what genre, um, like underground rap, as far as not necessarily the. I guess he would be considered emo rap, but I listen to him. A lot of electronica, especially when I'm driving around and I just want something to chill to. Um, I listen to a lot of Whit Lowry.
Okay. Why
Uh,
does the name sound familiar? Who is that again?
so Whit Lowry is he's fairly known for being like really good friends with Ninja. If you're in the streaming community, like Ninja's always retweeting Whit Lowry, and
Okay.
Whit Lowry is always retweeting Ninja and stuff like that. Um, but they're like I guess they're like old friends, but he kind of is in the same style as Sick World, that kind of like mellow, uh, emo rapish style.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I do enjoy emo rap a little bit. I'm still getting into it, so I still don't really know a whole lot of people in there, but like it's like a whole new world that I would like. I was admittedly like a little bit of a gatekeeper. I was like, dude, I don't know, because like the rap that I like is really like fun and like party vibe.
yeah,
I don't want to sit here and listen to some sad shit about like how much drugs this dude took. But like, dude, I was completely wrong. I was a gatekeeper, admittedly, and I was wrong for that because there's a lot of actually like good like creative shit in the emo rap scene. Like most of the stuff I like is really just pop punk over a hip hop beat, and I would have never known that if I didn't like open my mind to it.
fair. I listen to a lot of cover songs, um, from Pop Go or Punk Goes
Okay.
albums. I like a lot of those. I mean, I know that's kind of still in the pop. Well, I don't know if those would even be in the pop punk
Yeah,
category
well, I guess
anymore. Like,
it's still it's seen, but it's not yet. Like it definitely kind of strayed away from
yeah,
like pop punk over the years because like it started out
it was
like
pop punk artists.
the first Punk Goes Pop was like the starting line, Rufio, like shit like that. But then Punk Goes Pop Volume 2 was like a whole bunch of like metalcore bands
Yeah,
doing pop songs. I mean, it's not like I said, as someone who does still enjoy like metalcore and post hardcore and shit like that, it's still enjoyable. But yeah, it definitely did stray a little bit from the punk
from where it
goes.
was. Yeah,
Yeah, but I get it because Scene Goes doesn't have the same ring to
I still listen to like the Aquabats.
it.
Who
Okay.
doesn't love the Aquabats?
So my first
Um,
exposure to the Aquabats is actually their TV show Yo Gabba Gabba.
okay,
My
yeah.
my sister loved that shit growing up. So when I was like babysitting her and everything, like it would be on,
They
and
actually had their own TV show a long time ago, and I think it was on Netflix not too long ago. Um, that was just the Aquabats, and that's kind of where they started.
yeah. Well,
Um,
I don't know if it's the Aquabats show Yo Gabba Gabba, but I think it was definitely. I remember it was like created by their lead singer or something like that. And yeah, I mean, it's solid. Like, I'm not gonna sit down and watch it like just by myself, but like, if I'm babysitting or whatever, and like my sister had it on, I'd be sitting there watching it with her, getting
yeah.
into getting into like the songs, like it's cleaning time, there's some shit like that.
Bloodhound Gang. I listen to a lot of Blood. All right, I haven't as much lately, but Bloodhound Gang. Um, oh God, choking victim.
I go on binges. I go on binges with Bloodhound Gang. There'll be like weeks where I just listen to nothing but Bloodhound Gang, and then I don't listen to them again for a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I listen to a lot of or I listen to some like black metal, um,
Okay,
dark metal.
so like what? So that like what? Because I know black metal is another one of those genres that I think means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So when you say black metal, what kind of bands are you talking about?
Well, like Dimmu Borgir,
Okay,
they're Norwegian. Um, I listen to Ailstorm. They're more pirate metal, but they're kind of in that like heavy metal genre of black metal.
okay.
Um, Cradle of Filth.
Yo, my cousin used to love Cradle of Filth back in the day.
I used to listen to them a lot more than I do now, but they still pop up on some of my playlists. And then like death metal, like Dying Fetus or Cannibal Corpse. I listen to a little bit of
Okay,
that
so
here and there.
so stuff that's a little too heavy for me. I think my heavy ceiling is probably like As I Lay Dying.
Yeah, so a little bit heavier than that, but not as much on them anymore as I used to. But they still have some. And then I get into a lot of like the different like video game raps like MC Lars. He kind of goes by a bunch of different names. He doesn't like to really put himself into nerdcore, but he is a lit hop artist.
So, all right, so like nerdcore, I've heard of the genre nerdcore before, but just for the sake of the podcast, why don't you tell everybody what nerdcore and what lit hop is?
So nerdcore to me is just it's a bunch of video games guys. Like you have Mega Ran, he's getting really big into Twitch right now.
Okay, yeah, a lot of
um
musicians are getting into Twitch, and I'm not hating. I've been watching Ronnie
T-Pain.
Radke. Ronnie
Oh,
Radke has been playing lots of Warzone. I've been watching it.
T-Pain's actually live right now.
Really?
Yeah, but like they just rap about video games like YT Cracker. Um he talks a lot about hacking and different just like nerdy things. Um uh Schaefer the Dark Lord kind of has like that darker burlesque feel to him. He does some like darker raps, but they're more like literary based. But MC Lars, like he does lit hop, so like he has albums that are based solely on the works of like Shakespeare, or he has an album that is just all about Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven and Edgar Allan Poe. Um, so he takes like classic literature and turns it into modern day rap songs, which is super cool.
Yeah, it sounds like something really creative.
Yeah, and he's really big on the whole like DIY thing. Like he just had a kid. Um, his wife was actually in a group called Hand Job Academy.
Oh God.
Yeah, they did a lot of rap. So that was kind of cool. Don't judge me for this one, but I was always an ICP fan.
Oh, you're being judged. No,
Yeah,
ICP is one of
so
those. ICP is one of those where it's like, yeah, I'm
I
not
was never.
really a fan, but like I do get enjoyment. Like they got some guilty pleasure songs for sure.
I
Like
was never.
homies for
I was
those.
never a juggalo. We'll
Yeah, no,
put it that
I'm
way.
not a juggalo either. But like
Was
for those that are watching that are fans of like the stream, like my follow alert pretty much since like maybe a month or two after I started is Homies by ICP. Because like that's
yeah,
like I call like my followers my homies, and I say homie a lot, so like it just fit. So
yeah.
they're a guilty pleasure band for me for sure. Or I guess group. I guess they're not really a band because they don't really play instruments, but they're a group. They're a guilty pleasure group for me. But anyway, I
I'm
didn't mean to cut you
scrolling.
off. Go on.
Oh no, you're good. Like I'm scrolling through my my groups, and like there's a lot of like Me First and the Gimme Gimmes. Um,
They had a
MC
song.
Chris, MC Chris, you've probably heard of him. He's nerdcore.
Yeah, he MC Chris, if I'm not mistaken, he
Did
did
Vets Vet and
he
Aqua Teen Hunger
yeah, he
Force,
was on Aqua Teen. He was like uh
MCP
he was
Pants.
MCP Pants, then he was Sirloin, then he was Little Brittle.
He actually helped write all of helped with a lot of the Aqua Teen Hunger Force stuff. He also did C Lab 2021. He was Hesh.
Okay.
He was known for Hesh Wants Sex. That was his kind of thing in that show. MC Frontalot was like the founding father of nerdcore. He talks about a lot of like older video games, like 8-bit stuff. Because he's a little bit of an older gentleman. Mega Ran, I mentioned him. He's actually licensed by Capcom to use Mega Man likenesses on all of his albums because he's Mega Ran.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
So he actually went out of his way to get sponsored with them for that. So yeah, that's kind of the nerdcore, because MC Lars gets dropped into nerdcore a lot, and he's like, I mean, kind of, but kind of not.
Yeah.
Um, but there is a really good documentary about nerdcore. I think it used to be on Netflix, but
What's it called?
I don't remember. I think it's just called Nerdcore.
Okay.
Let me see.
If it's ever on Netflix, I'll peep it. But yeah, I like there's a few MC Lars songs that I like. I don't really know if I consider myself a fan because I only know a couple songs, but
Oh, Nerdcore Rising was the name of it.
okay, I got you. Nerdcore Rising. I'll have to check it if it's ever on Netflix or Hulu or whatever. Yeah,
I think
I like the song that had Jarrett Reddick on it, and I like the song that was in Rock Band. I think it was called "This Gigantic Robot Kills."
yes.
Yeah, I like that
So
song, and then I like the one that had Jarrett. I think it's called like "Download This Song."
download the song. Yeah, that was one of his. That was when he was with Jarrett Riddick on what is it, Crappy Records.
Okay.
So he actually started on Jarrett's record label.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh man, Screeching Weasel. So that was gosh, I want to say that was one of the guys from Blink 180, or not Blink 182, Green Day's original bands. I think it was shit, I can't
Well, I
remember.
do
I just
know,
know.
yeah, Screeching Weasel. They're definitely one of those like '90s like kind of skate punk, but like with more melody pop punk bands. And it just goes to show how diverse the genre is. Like, don't let anybody say pop punk all sounds the same, because they are the same genre as 4 Years Strong.
Yeah, they actually did a re-release of one of their old albums, like a remaster, for 2020. Screeching Weasel did.
That's an idea. I'm gonna have to tell them
Yeah,
about it. Do a whole bunch of '90s pop punk in the style of like easycore.
yeah.
Oh, it's all coming together.
Oh
Um,
man,
but anyway,
couple. I don't know if you ever heard of Star Fucking Hipster. They were like
nope.
a two album run band back in the day. They were more into that uh punk rock, like heavy, grungy. Um they were kind of rough around the edges.
Yeah.
Man, just scrolling through my Spotify, like it's insane the amount of different people that I listen to, between rap and rock and nerdcore. Um, my favorite Martian, he's a huge YouTube parody songwriter. Weird Al
I've heard of
Yankovic.
him. Yeah.
Weird
Oh,
Al.
dude, Weird Al has some funny songs.
So MC Lars has actually gotten Weird Al Yankovic to play accordion on a couple of his songs. Um, which is kind of crazy. I've got a lot of like Vanilla Ice. Yeah, I follow Vanilla Ice on
Vanilla Ice. God
that.
fucking damn it.
Some Usher. Guilty pleasures, Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, Britney Spears. I listen to a little bit of everything,
Oh,
honestly.
what you call guilty pleasures, I just call bangers.
Pleasures, yeah. I'm not one that's against, pulling up at a stoplight with my windows down and Britney Spears player and the guy sitting next to me like, what? In his big old jacked up truck. I'm just like, what up?
Yeah, I guess my guilty pleasures would probably be pretty much like any new metal band. So like, like Power Man 5000, Limp Bizkit, shit that like I like to make fun of, but then I also kind of legitimately enjoy. Like Power Man 5000 have had songs in my, like, you know those year-end playlists they give you on Spotify, where it's like your top 100 songs played from that year.
Yeah.
Power Man 5000 has made a few appearances. They've made a few
Well,
appearances in those playlists because
well,
I enjoy their music.
here's one that we were just talking about earlier. Austrian Death Machine.
Yeah, I
I
definitely like them as well.
uh I'm a big fan of Avril Lavigne. I hate all of the stipulations around her dying.
Yo,
I thought
how do
that was
you feel
crazy.
though about her divorcing Derek from Sum 41 and then marrying Chad Kroger?
Hey, they got divorced, so I'm still in the running for Avril Lavigne. If you hear this, let's go.
Just could you imagine? Could you imagine being Derek? You got fucking divorced for Nickelback.
Well, I mean, to be honest, he did kind of go in a downward spiral before she like ended it with him.
Yeah, talk about
Um,
kicking a guy while he's down. Holy shit.
well, and he
Huh.
came back. Like
Um,
that's when Sum 41 came back too. I was like, dang,
could you just
you like
imagine though? I'm leaving you for Nickelback.
Well, I don't know if she left him for. I think she left him, and then that happened, and I wasn't too happy about that one.
God, dude,
Let's be
that would just
real.
make
I'm
me
like,
feel
Avril,
fucking
come
worse.
on.
That would just
You
make me
just
feel worse.
you just want to battle with Lyme disease. Come on, let's go. Let's not stoop down. Um yeah, no, that was kind of crazy. Um if you like folksy songs, there's a band called The Beards that I really enjoy. And they talk about beards. Every They're from Australia, and every single song they have is about beards. They're pretty great. Uh I got some Beach Boys on my playlist, you know, going way back. So I'm very, very wide
I could tell.
mix of genres. Yeah. I don't listen to a whole lot of country because I feel like, you get one thing when you play a country song backwards, you get your house back, you get your dog back, you get your wife back, and then you get your truck back. Um, but you know, it's just not my cup of tea in the country field. It's all sad and makes me want to, of
Country
course.
is one of those things where, for me, it's just kind of like I don't feel too strongly about it either way. But when I was like a senior, my friends were all like even though we're from New Jersey, we're gonna act like we're from the South crew. So I was around country music a lot, so like I get a little nostalgic for it. But yeah, for the most part, I kind of don't feel strongly good or bad towards it. Like I have my songs in the genre that I enjoy. It's not something that I typically put on just to put on, but
Like
um,
I'll listen to Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash. I don't consider country. Johnny Cash is just Johnny Cash.
well, I mean, I think Wikipedia would disagree with you, sir.
I know they would, but I mean, like most of the stuff that you think of when you think of Johnny Cash, like he was doing his own thing. Like he was like, "Nah, man, I'm Johnny Cash. That's it." The Man in Black. Um, So, I kind of take off his feel of that one as he's just like, I play music. That's what I do. He's like, I don't have a genre. Cause he would change it up in like an instant in a song. And it's just like, holy crap, you were revolutionary. Um and then Garth Brooks. I've always been a fan of Garth Brooks. But that was kind of
Yeah.
I grew up on that, being from the South, and I don't like country. When it's you get looked at a little funny when you're wearing Dickie shorts that go past your knees and the Converse, and you're riding a BMX bike and not wearing a cowboy hat. Like I was a bit of the odd man out most of my childhood.
Yeah, that's true. Like and yeah, even in like New Jersey, like we're not the South, but at least as of when I went to school, 2013, there was the people that swore they were from the South. Like, spend their weekends like fishing and mudding and shit.
Oh, we even have those people here. It's like I live in a city, and like the amount of jacked up trucks in this town, I'm just like there's not a farm in sight. What are you driving this truck to? Like I grew up partially on a farm, and like we had a semi jacked up truck. I mean, it wasn't like, half this stuff you see around here, and I'm just like that truck only saw mud, and like that truck got hit by trees all the time, and I'm like, you look at some of these jacked up trucks, you're like, that thing looks like it's never seen a speck of mud in its life. What's the point?
What's the point? What's the point? If you ain't using that truck for farming, you ain't doing it right.
Right? I mean, I drive little bitty cars. It's kind of like I like my gas mileage, and I like I semi like the environment. I still like driving my gas powered car, not to like
I like the environment ish.
I mean, well, and I know we're a pop punk podcast, but electric cars actually making the batteries causes more pollution than my gas powered car is going to make in its lifetime. But let's get the green people hating us right now. Uh,
Okay,
but
you heard it here first. You heard it here first, folks.
electric cars aren't better for the environment. It's- but yeah, like I mean, it's that's just kind of how it goes. Especially, I grew up in a fairly big retirement community too, so being the kid that liked skateboarding or BMX biking and rollerblading, I was a little bit of an odd man out, but it happens.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you like what you like. I could understand that. You know, if you're around country all the time, I'd probably get sick of it. Like I said, it was mainly like that specific friend group that liked it. So, just being around them, you're gonna hear it, and you pick up on a few songs that you like. It's some you might not like that much, but I guess for me, country's just a very safe genre. Like if I'm driving and I don't have a way to listen to my own music, I'll probably put on the country station because it's just safe. There's not gonna be any songs I love because it's country, but there's also not gonna be any songs I hate. Like
Mm.
I wouldn't listen to the rock station because like I don't really like rock. Sometimes they mix it up and they play like Blank or something, or they'll play like
Yeah.
Def Leppard or something, and like I like those, but can't bank on that because most of the stuff they're gonna play is gonna be stuff that I don't like. And I don't listen to the alternative station because again, like they might mix it up and they'll probably play like like Blank, or they might play some like Senses Fail. But most of the stuff that they're gonna play is gonna be like kind of like almost like indie type stuff, and I don't really like that. So I just put on the country station. I just listen to that if I don't have a way to listen to my own stuff because I usually try to do that first
I feel that.
because they don't have any dedicated pop punk radio stations. I mean, in this day and age, you don't really need one. I mean, Spotify and when I say Spotify, I just mean a blanket term for all the big streaming services. So, like Spotify, Apple Music, all that shit.
Right.
I just use Spotify as a blanket term. But like in the age of Spotify, like, do you even really need a radio station?
No, I keep Android Auto playing
Yeah,
99.5% of the time I'm in my car, unless I'm just
yeah,
like going one place.
exactly. And yeah, when we're done this podcast, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna make some deliveries for DoorDash. I'm gonna be doing it while listening to Spotify, not to the radio. So there's that. So all right, we talked a lot about like the history of pop punk and everything. What are your thoughts on the future of pop punk and the scene? Do you see it coming back, or do you think it's kind of had its time? Because I think everybody knows my opinion. I think it's gonna make way for a little bit of a revival. I think it's already starting a little bit with MGK's new album and like Juice World, may he rest in peace. But I want to know what you think.
I I was gonna say, I mean, we've talked about it a little bit. I mean, my big thing is I don't think it's ever going anywhere
Mm-hmm.
because, like I said, like 90% of the stuff my daughter listens to is things that I've listened to at some point in my life.
Yeah.
Um, as she's smirking at me from the other room. Um, but I don't think I don't know. I hate to say that I don't think it'll ever come back the way that it was because punk was kind of on the way out when pop punk came back or when pop punk became a thing. Because everybody was kind of over the political music. No FX kind of still tried to keep it going on, and a lot of like MXPX tried to still have a little bit of political, but then they kind of went more pop punk. Um, everybody, all the music genre, all of like the pop punk bands of the past have all gone pop. in my opinion. Like the ones that are still around that are, that would pave a way for like a revolution or pull in. And I mean, like you said, the emo rap scene, I think emo might come back. Like the emo genre of pop punk might come back, but I don't think like true pop punk will ever fully come back the way that it was.
Well, I definitely agree. Like, it's not 2001. It's never going to be 2001 ever again. But yeah, I definitely think like with emo rap, and because emo rap draws like heavy inspiration from pop punk and and mall emo and all that stuff. And yeah, I mean, like time will tell because like MGK's album just came out. But I already kind of see it creating a little bit of ripple effect. And on top of that, like Juice WRLD's last album, again, may he rest in peace, had a pop punk song on it, like Man of the Year. Like there's no rapping on that. He's singing. And it's really just a pop punk song.
Well, and My Chemical Romance is supposedly coming back, which, they're more in that emo scene of the pop punk. So, I mean, they'll, I feel like emo's coming back, not necessarily.
I also just wanted to say real quick. I knew My Chemical Romance was gonna come back. They just teased it way too much for them to not do it.
No, I mean they're more or less gonna come back.
Well, they already have. They already have. They're like, well, I think they were gonna tour before the lockdown hit.
Okay,
but yeah, they are
working on a whole new album. But who knows when that's gonna happen.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. I definitely do think pop punk is gonna. It's not gonna ever be 2001 again. But I see a lot of parallels to like the kind of like popularity line that I guess hair metal had. Like in the 80s, it was humongous, and then the 90s hit and it like tapered off, and then it was like irrelevant for probably like 10-15 years, and then the late 2000s hit and like it's never gonna be 1986 again, but it kind of rose a little bit with like Steel Panther and like like some like hair metal revival stuff. Even, and honestly I think even drawing some parallels, like hair metal kind of had an indirect influence on like a lot of the more rock inspired post-hardcore bands like like I know Escape to Fate was very heavily 80s influenced. The Used, they had an album in the mid 2000s that was just sounded like rock to me. And just like I think hair metal kind of had a little bit of an indirect inspiration on like the post-hardcore of the mid 2000s. I think pop punk is kind of having a little bit of an indirect inspiration on emo rap. Well, maybe a little bit more of a direct inspiration.
Which we talked about, like the Used being, and a lot of that was a lot of those post-hardcore guys, they really messed up their voices.
And also Black Veil Brides. I'm not a fan of Black Veil Brides, but they are very heavily inspired by 80s hair metal, and they are humongous in the scene. I don't know if they're... I don't really keep tabs on them because I don't really like them, so I don't know how like mainstream relevant they are. But in the scene, they are fucking huge.
Yeah, look at scene hair and look at 80s hair metal hair.
Yeah.
It's literally the same thing.
Exactly.
Except black.
So, yeah. Except just, dyed black and straight.
Black and colorful.
But yeah, so like, but then on top of that, like, like then there was Steel Panther, which kind of like they made a little bit of waves. Like obviously they're not like as big as like Def Leppard or Bon Jovi or Poison or Motley Crue, but they brought it back a little bit. So I do think, like, I see lots of parallels because pop punk, right? Like the 2000s, the line was like way up here, just like hair metal in 1986. And then the 2010s hit and it kind of tapered off. Because that's when like I guess soft grunge started becoming the wave in the scene, and then in terms of mainstream stuff, it just wasn't relevant anymore. But now I see the line, like obviously it's not back up yet, but the line is kind of rising with emo rap and then like MGK. maybe pop punk needs like a Steel Panther, like a kind of like loving parody, because they kind of have that a little bit with Sunrise Skater Kids. Well, Jared Alon's kind of spreads himself not too thin, but he's just kind of all over the place. Where like, because he has Sunrise Skater Kids, which is his pop punk like kind of joke band, and then he also has Canadian Softball and Amidst the Graves Demons, which Canadian Softball is supposed to be like an emo joke band, and then Amidst the Graves Demons like a metalcore joke band. So he's kind of all over the place in the scene. So maybe that could be it, but I don't know. I think they might need like a dedicated like Steel Panther type band where like the music is just pure pop punk, but then the lyrics are just kind of like joke lyrics,
jokey and funny. Yeah,
maybe that's what they need. I don't know, because like that's kind of what they have with Sunrise Skater Kids, but I don't know. But I think yeah, Revival's gonna hit. Like if all right, if the peak of their popularity was like a 9 or like maybe like a 10, 9 or 10, I could see it dialing back up to like maybe a 5. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think to me, it's kind of like, when punk was when the whole punk's not dead thing came through, like there's probably a 20%, 30% market still in punk when pop punk came out, and like everybody's like punk's dead. There was still a little bit, and now I feel like we're kind of in that pop punk's dead phase where you still have like 20 or 30% of people, and then of course we're in that 20 to 30% being we grew up on this stuff.
And that that actually, like, I know I've said this, I've beaten this subject to death on the podcast, but like nostalgia waves ride in groups of 20. Because it comes out and it's big and all the kids love it. And then 20 years rolls by, and then the kids that grew up loving it are the ones that are in music, making stuff. And, you want to make what you like, so you're going to make like what you like, and you're going to make what you grew up with. And that was actually, I think, MGK's whole reasoning for the album is like that's the shit he liked when he was growing up, so he wants to make it and he wants to hope people will pick up guitars again.
Yeah.
So that's just because, like hair metal. The revival kind of happened in the late 2000s after about 20 years. 90s alternative and like real emo, for better or for worse, for me for worse because I didn't like this stuff, but that stuff was big in the 90s, and then it kind of made a little bit of a revival in the 2010s.
Yeah.
Next up in line is pop punk. That was big in the 2000s, and now it's the 2020s. The nostalgia rise in like waves of 20. So
and you might not be wrong. I would love to see it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still, pop punk, there's still pop punk bands out there. Like they're not the same as they were 20 years ago, but I mean, there are still new bands coming out that are, I would even consider them in the pop punk tree.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of your pop punk bands are still, they're like 40 and still rocking out.
Well, have you heard of a newer band called If I Die First?
I actually have not.
All right, so it's a post-hardcore band. It's a super group. It's members of From First to Last and a couple emo rappers. I forget all the emo rap, but I know Lil Lotus is a part of it. And Lil Lotus, he looks like Kylo Ren with face tats, but dude, he's awesome. His solo stuff is really good. And If I Die First is also really good. It sounds like 2006, like MySpace era, like post-hardcore. I mean, I guess it's not pop punk per se, but like same family. Same family. Yeah. And they're like really good. I urge you to check it out. The podcasts I've heard talked about these guys a bunch. I talked about Lil Lotus a bunch. But yeah, you specifically, Keane, check them out because they're good.
I was gonna say, like, because even in Spotify, like they have new punk tracks as one of their Spotify playlists, and Machine Gun Kelly is on it, like you
Yeah.
said.
Well, yeah.
And then of
Well,
course,
yeah. His album is really good, and I was shocked at how pop punk it sounds. Because you usually, it's like, oh yeah, it's got a bit of a pop punk influence to it, and then it literally doesn't sound any different than their other stuff. But no, with MGK, it really does sound like it's a pop punk album. Like, you could tell he's definitely a rapper, because there's definitely a few songs kind of lean more into like the, like almost emo rap territory. But a good majority of the songs are just straight up pop punk. Like, no, not even hip hop beats. Like, it's got Travis Barker on the drums, and you can tell. So
that's like, I mean, there's tons of. I might actually have to give this playlist a listen because I mean, there's a lot of stuff like Water Parks. I've heard of them.
yeah, I remember I wasn't a fan of them, but then I heard one of their songs. I think
Yeah,
it's called like "Stupid for You." I think is the name. It's something for you. It's either "Stupid for You" or "Crazy for You." I
they
think it
like I
might be
said, I'm
"Stupid for
not.
You." I
Emma
heard
likes
that song and I
them,
liked that.
and I've had a few songs that I was like, okay, these guys are all right. Um, I mean, Mayday Parade's on this list. I guess Mayday Parade just launched a new album or a new song. Of course, they've been going on since I think 2018 was their last album. It looks like they did a single. It's
Respect
like
though.
Mayday Parade's still around. I mean, there's tons of bands that are still doing it. That were I know from then. Looks like Rise Against is still doing stuff.
I'm not super crazy into Rise Against. I'll be honest. They're a little too like punky for my taste.
Yeah, see, well, and I was gonna say they were kind of in that transition of
Well, they're also kind of like Green Day, where I think they get lumped in with rock a lot more, and their fan base is a lot more of like the rockier crowd. I mean, don't get me wrong, they have a few songs I like. I do enjoy the song Savior, and I do enjoy the song Tragedy Plus Time. Tragedy Plus Time was just, it's really just a pop punk song.
yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
they
most of their
kept
stuff is a little too punky for me.
they kept really big in their. They started as a punk band, like they were pure punk, and they
Well,
just kind of
funny enough, Tim, their lead singer, was in a hardcore band with Pete Wentz.
yeah.
And yeah, Pete Wentz was the singer and Tim was the bass player, which is kind of weird because Pete Wentz is a bass player and Tim is a singer now in their respective bands. Um, but yeah, they were in a hardcore band. It was called Arma Angelus, and and it's just wild when you think of like Pete Wentz now.
Yeah,
He went from friggin' like hardcore to pop star.
and of course Knuckle Puck. Knuckle Puck was like they started in like 2012.
Okay. We're talking about the new Knuckle Puck, not the OG hardcore Knuckle Puck.
No, yeah, like the new guys.
Yeah.
But
Well, I've been meaning to give them a lesson because I used to just write them off, just kind of being like a grumpy old man, like, I don't like the new stuff. But, because I would write them off just like I wrote off State Chance and Neck Deep, but I ended up
oh, and I
liking,
love State
I
Chance.
ended up liking a lot of songs by both of those bands, so if I was wrong about them, I might be wrong about Knuckle Puck as well. So I've been meaning to give them a shot. I just haven't heard anything from them yet.
Dude, you should definitely check out this new punk tracks playlist. It's about 5 hours of music, and it looks like it's just all new stuff. So I mean, I'm actually looking at gonna check that one out because I was like, that could be interesting.
Yeah, I'll have to peep it. I'll have to peep it. Well, yeah. So I think that actually probably about does it because this is like a 2 hour episode. Do you have any
Right.
closing thoughts?
I mean, even if we don't get a revival, punk rock will always stay true in our own hearts.
I agree. I agree very much. That's that was this week's episode. Yo, Keane, thank you so much for being a guest on here.
My pleasure. I know we got off on some tangents, but hey, that's what happens, right?
Well, dude, that's the heart and soul of a podcast. I mean, this was a double length episode. So yeah. So thank you everybody that watched. Everybody that watched live on Twitch. Thank you guys. I know I don't check the chat for the podcast, but I see you guys comment, and I try to comment back. Like in the chat. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Thank you to everybody that's going to be watching this on YouTube. You guys are amazing. And we will be catching you guys next week. So, Thursday, every Thursday at 3:30, live on Twitch, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. I know we've been doing this on Saturday for the past couple weeks, but I don't think we're permanently moving to Saturday. We've just had, it was just really a coincidence. We had some technical difficulties last week, and then this week we did it to try and make sure everybody's schedules lined up, but Ed's schedule still didn't line up, so. Nah, I'm not gonna give him shit because he did actually have something kind of serious to take care of today. So we're not permanently moving to Saturday, so we're still Thursday at 3:30. And then if you're watching on YouTube, every Tuesday at noon, and that has not changed since episode 2. So I'll catch you guys later. Be sure, if you're on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. If you're on Twitch, please follow. It helps us out so much. And I will catch you guys later. Peace.